Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the SaaSberry AI Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about why Canadian businesses are behind on AI and what China's doing differently. So let's get right into it.
Well, everyone, my name is Chace Cade. I'm one of the co-founders of SaaSberry Innovation Labs. Been in tech for 30 years, and I'm super excited today to invite Susan Yu, a futurist, an author, a systems thinker, and a global business analyst focused on how AI is changing the world. Susan and I met 8 months ago within a mastermind AI group, and I must say, Susan, every time you talk about AI, you grab my attention. It's more from a human description and dialogue rather than a technical one, and I love that. I work with engineers all day long, and they're just focused on building the bridge, and you're talking about what the impacts that bridge is going to have once it's complete. So thank you very much for attending, and we really appreciate it. So why don't we jump right into it? So
Thank you for inviting me.
I thought we could start with the story you shared in regards to your brother Philip's demo at the AXA Global CIO conference, the live GenAI demo that stunned a global CIO audience. So talk to me, what made that moment so powerful, and what does it say about where China is with GenAI maybe versus the West?
Okay. So my brother was in Paris just last week. Actually, he's now back in China now. And when he was in Paris, he did the demonstration. It's only a 25 minutes sort of presentation to the group, the whole AXA CIO around the world. And last year he did the same. He didn't do presentation, but they all talk about AI last year. Mm-hmm. And there were lots of proof of concepts and things like that. And This year he talked and then he did a presentation, a demo. The demo was only 30 seconds, he said.
Oh, wow.
But at the end of that 30 seconds, there was stunned silence. And then after a while, everybody clapped and he has to wait before he continue. So I did ask him, I said, what did you demonstrate? He said it was a simple thing. It was because his company is doing insurance, so it's car insurance. And he demonstrated the process of doing a quotation, a digital quotation, where the user will interact with WeChat, which is in China, and request a car insurance quotation, and then the quotation need to come back out. They determine based on all their risk factor and everything, and gave him a quote, and then he will then sign the quote and then pay the premium. And he said that actually the current process wasn't bad as well because it's already digital. So it took around 3 to 4 minutes, the current process. Like you need to scan your ID and then scan your license plate and whatever you need to scan. And then they go back and think and then come back. But the new process, scanning and coming back with a quote, was 12 seconds. And then after that, the user then determine read and then determined to sign and then pay the premium, everything, the whole transaction completed within 30 seconds.
Holy smokes. And before, a human had to do that, and it could have taken a very long time. Do you have an idea of how long it took when a human was involved?
Don't know how long humans involved. It will be to and froing because you need to fill in forms. And then even before, it was normally, sometimes you have a video to scan your face to prove that you are the same person as your ID and things like that, right? So there is a bit of to and froing. So I asked him, so how did you make it 12 seconds? What did you do? He said that, they just need to scatter all their ID onto a table, take a picture of everything in one go, and then upload to WeChat, and then WeChat will be able to, the AI will be able to decipher everything, plug in all the information accurately using the LM and onto the thing, and he confirm it and then send it back to the backend, and the backend will, based on that, determine the risk profile, everything, and come back. So it was 12 seconds, and then 17, 18 seconds. So it's 30 seconds altogether. And
That's
that was the part people just like, it was a little bit stunned, and then they started reacting. And also the people immediately, some people asked, oh, does it mean it make China the leading company then? Like 30 seconds, you will be leading. You will have the best customer experience. And Philip said, no, that would just make us at par. We are probably middle of the rank.
Oh, wow. Well,
So
that's interesting. You said that in June of 24 at that conference, they talked about proof of concepts and stuff. And it's interesting because I read that AXA has over 30 Gen AI agents in 6 months deployed, and they've got over 100 in development. And what's interesting about that is in Canada now, customers are just talking proof of concepts. So they're just now starting to have that conversation. Don't get me wrong. I've probably talked to 200 C-level organizations in the last 9 months. And out of those 200, there's maybe 3 or 4 that are just saying, let's invest in a proof of concept. So I would probably say, based on what you just told me, Canada is at least 14, 15 months behind. And what I think I read online is more like 18 months behind, which makes sense. But that simple task of getting an insurance quote done and completed in less than 30 seconds is mind-boggling, because I've sat in an insurance chair for 45 minutes while my insurance broker has just done the paper, and then I'm giving stuff and I'm waiting there, and then I'm giving them my driver's license.
Oh,
So
yeah.
for me and Chace, for example, we can go in now and do our insurance in 30 seconds. That's unbelievably successful. And it's again how humans that have to do process administrative paperwork, how these agents take that away from that. So you also mentioned, though, you mentioned resistance from group leadership around Chinese AI models. Is this a technical concern, or is this something deeper?
It is definitely something to do with bias perception. There is definitely a trust issue. There is a perception that the Chinese model, which they use DeepSeek.
Okay.
And, yep. And they don't, actually, that's another thing, is DeepSeek came out in 20th January. And then it was a weekend. And then on Monday, when my brother went back to the company, my brother said, oh, DeepSeek, because DeepSeek was on news. So everybody heard about DeepSeek. And then my brother said, told his company to say, yeah, I think we need to explore DeepSeek. And then his company, basically his staff say, oh yeah, we installed already. We already play with a few use cases already. And it started. And that was, and he actually said that over the weekend, not only his company, over 40 China's company, a top large one, also installed DeepSeek. The way they use it is they actually install in their own server. It's a private AI. So it's not like in the West, you have OpenAI that sign a contract and say this is dedicated to you. It's not like that. It's not cloud-based. It's their own.
Okay.
AI.
So they brought the models into their environment rather than putting their data up to the models.
Exactly. And so when your question about resistance, there is also, my brother actually say there is also a certain extent of ignorance, because when someone raised concern about a model is biased, Philip was a bit confused, because he thought, I'm not using an AI to write political speech. He's using it to just process customer queries, access plans, and generate optimal insurance quote. Does it really matter if the model leans one way or another?
Right.
When all it's doing is just calculating premium, looking at that, like people's credential, evaluating risk. So again, what context are they talking about? Why are they,
Yeah, you're nailing it. I'm seeing that right now constantly, right? Like, oh, we can't use AI. Why
Mm.
can't you? Oh, security. Well, what do you mean security? SaaSberry is all in on the Microsoft stack, and we can pull from 1,600 models, I think, now when we're building out our solutions. So even in a specific agent, for the tasks of the agent, they may be using different LLMs and so on, right? And so the Microsoft stack has allowed us to fast track that security concern. And now it's the reiteration and the fine tuning to make sure it's not hallucinating. And we want to put measurable KPIs in to say, hey, it's performing at 85, 90% accuracy rate. And you know what? Let's be honest. The humans are probably only at 20, 30% because they're tired and they're going through the paperwork and stuff. But it gets into another segment here, East versus West. Cultural readiness for AI. And you posed a provocative question. Is Chinese society more AI change ready than the West? And what signs do you see that support this?
The major difference I see, and also I asked Philip as well, China is definitely outcome oriented. Everything is outcome oriented. But when we are in the West, we are very much process oriented. We talk about governance, we talk about roles and responsibility, we talk a lot about all the surrounding thing, and not really focus on what do we really want to achieve. So the outcome. The second part is China operate with long-term vision. So they, for example, to be able, at the moment, the speed of Philips iteration is astounding. Every few days they have another thing released, right?
Wow.
And so when they say 100 in the pipeline, it is probably only another half a year's workload for them. And while the West, like Philip say, one of the foundation he said is he feel his company is ready now because of what he has done in the past 8 years.
Right. Oh, 8 years.
8 years, yeah.
Okay.
So first thing is because the insurance company has a lot of legacy systems. So like AS400 and things like that. So the first thing he did when he first come on board was to take everything in-house. He actually have an in-house development, and that took a while.
Yeah.
He also digitized the whole customer journey process. Architecturally, he modularized the all the design, the new architecture. Everything need to be modular. And then the last thing is data integration. All the data, key data that they need to be, there is only one copy. It should be in a central location, right? So it actually took them and took the first 4 years to lay all those foundation, and the next 3 years to actually fine tune the whole delivery processes to the extent the way they sprint is really, really fast. Yep. Whatever processes that they do. So that's why they can speed. They are at scale now. They can.
Gotcha.
They can.
And yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, to give some context, also everybody that's watching, Susan's right now is based in Sydney, Australia, right? Is that where you are? And you're very tied into Asia and how AI is making a difference out there. And so the things that you're saying, like data strategies and working with AI for the last 8 years, pretty hard to find an organization here locally that I've been talking to that's been down that path. I was at Microsoft before, and we were doing very large proof of concepts or just seeing if this could work. So more machine learning, data scientists. But I am seeing now that organizations have data strategies in place. They've got Databricks or Snowflake, whatever it is. And that's bringing a big difference to be able to have it so our engineering team can go in and build out these agents quite easily, especially with structured data and unstructured data in agents.
Yeah.
But more contents, AXA, they're around 100 billion in revenue and 150,000 employees. So this isn't like a small organization. They had to completely revamp how their whole IT was being developed and run in their organization. And now the amount of innovation that AXA is going to come from your Brian is probably insane from what we're seeing out here. So segueing into that, what can a Western organization learn from China's approach to AI implementation? What would you suggest?
I think lay the foundation in terms of long-term, think long-term.
Long-term, yeah.
Yep. And definitely outcome-oriented.
I love that.
Not focused like bogged down. You use processes to support your outcome and not the other way around. One of the thing I discovered is when I remember when we first started Agile, the whole principle of Agile was people first, people over processes,
Right.
and then deliver value, right? And instead, now people focus on the process and the ceremony and of Agile instead of actually delivering.
Yeah.
What's the purpose? What's the objective you are trying to do? Sometimes maybe Agile is blocking the way. Maybe just one spreadsheet out there will be able to coordinate everyone, right? So the purpose of agility is to coordinate people so that we can run at scale. So what
Right.
can we do?
Right. And that segments into what you said, rethinking work and human potential. You said the brilliance of industrialization wasn't the machines, it was how we organized human labor. And so what's the equivalent breakthrough in the AI era that you see?
I think let me think.
I mean, definitely the outcome oriented, because everyone's talking process. Change management's all in there. How we're going to do this. CISO is like, how are we going to do with security? And they're
Yeah.
more focused on that process out in the West. And so I love how you said outcome oriented. What are we going to do here to our organization to be able to leverage these tools? So I'm just trying to understand maybe more of what's the equivalent breakthrough in this AI versus the industrialization that we went through in our past?
Industrialization give us business processes or organize human via processes. But the breakthrough now, because now we are trying to organize cognitive work, like thinking work. So what we need to do is organize coordination and connections between people. And probably we should do it via a lot more empowerment and unleash the dynamic of human interactions.
Right.
So if you lock the human behavior down by rigid roles and responsibility, and as when you create, you actually don't think about the process of creation. You just create.
Yeah.
When two human beings try to collaborate, we just collaborate. And that's the flow. So you need to create the leader need to create a space or an environment that foster that.
Wow. Yeah. I think that segues into also the need for in the future people to be human and not go into machine thinking, right? Like how can we have leaders in our organizations to have that creative capability to say, look what we can do with the tools, right? And you talked about moving from procedures to principles, from control to coordination. So what does that really look like in a real organization? Like how does that look like? Because ours right now, I think people are really procedure driven rather than principle driven.
I think the first thing is to build trust. You need to encourage that trust, that empowerment. Start with empowering and giving people more autonomy and not less. And continue with a clarity of principles. One of the story my brother said, he was called into a workshop for architectural design for AI principles. And that has been running for a few days. And there was a 50-page document on AI principles. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then they asked him, looking at him as the expert and asked him, "What do you think? Please look at it." And my brother's answer was, "I actually don't understand all these principles, and I don't know what principle I should use. The only thing I gave my team was 2 guidelines. The first one was make sure that you build the AI middle layer so that I can swap out my LLM, because LLM always change, right?
Yes.
So you build in such a way that I can swap it out when I need. The second one is built in such a way that you can fail fast and adapt fast. One of the characteristic of AI is really fast. People don't need to think too much.
Right.
If you want to deploy anything or build anything, it is finished in probably a few days. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. You just do fine tune it. So long as your process is agile, like fast, then you can actually iterate along the way and fail fast, adapt fast. So those are the 2 guidelines. He says it's not even a principle at this stage. He said that because all of us are new, there is no one can claim that they know everything. What's the best practice thing? Everybody is evolving it at the moment.
Chace and I, we have those conversations all the time. Like, I'm very passionate about AI. SaaSberry's all AI. And sometimes I don't want people to think I'm trying to sell when my excitement is just like, and when people are spending months on a use case. What are we doing, right? Like, why? Like, there's 10 that are so easy, that are so boring maybe, but big changes. Like let's not try to cure malaria. Let's just do a very easy use case, spin it out quickly, roll that agent out. And now we have success. So people are taking too long. They're overthinking out here in the West because there's simple, easy ones. And you know what? You can now get your insurance in 12 seconds online, rather than before you'd have to go inside and sit in the store for maybe a half an hour to do that. It wasn't rocket science, was it? It wasn't complicated for him. It was a very easy use case that they implemented. And now it's a substantial difference, not to just their business, but their customers that don't want to go to the location, don't want to sit there for a half an hour and answer all these questions. So that one.
They could do it while they are going to bed and then say, let me do a and then before I go to sleep, I just do one.
That's funny you said that, because we worked with an insurance company out here, and they've got a barcode in the new construction. And when they scanned that, they were finding most of the people scanning to look at their insurance needs was after dinner, because people are sitting there and saying, "Oh my gosh, I forgot my insurance." It's now 7, 8, or 9 o'clock at night. Now they can do that. But that AI middleware, that's what you call it. Like, you set up the AI middle part. That is critical. And that's what Steve Boy, our CTO, does when he's building the agents, making sure that we can swap the models based on the needs, and even have multiple models in there in some cases to accomplish that goal. So that kind of segues into our next part of is the year 2500, a vision of conscious civilization. Your vision of the year 2500 is poetic to me. It's almost spiritual. What inspired it? When I read that, I was like, wow, like, people's views from the west of China are a lot different than what you can express from going out there and being there and seeing the impact. You talked about communities where there, people in less economic situations could still have a roof over their house, have food. And out here, we just think other things, that it's not all good. It's doom and gloom out there. So what inspired your vision of the year 2500, and maybe describe it a little bit more too?
Yeah. It was actually sparked by a video someone shared in our the Brain Juice group, our think tank group. And that video was 2500, and it's a dystopian sort of vision of the future under AI. So, which is your typical Western sort of view, which is gray cities, mind control, machine dominating humans.
Yeah.
I mean, the common narrative that you see in
Fear. Be scared.
yeah,
The robots are
Terminator.
coming. Yeah.
So it was fear, it was control, it was decline and things like that. They did put a lot of trees around and maybe trees on buildings and things like that.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
believe in this concept that we shape the future we imagine. So I
Yeah.
always want to visualize where I want to head. And then I was thinking, if all the images there were collectively were like the future, our humanity future is so negative,
Yeah.
I don't want to manifest that at all.
Yeah.
So I asked, what if I imagine the opposite? What if we create a future that's worth moving forward with? Not one to fear, but one to aspire to.
Yeah.
So what I did was I also actually ground my vision. I personally believe that our future is positive, mainly because I read the book from Hans. I don't know whether you read Hans Rosling's book called Factfulness.
No,
It
I
was
haven't.
one book that Bill Gates recommended quite a few years ago. Hans Rosling has passed away now.
Okay.
His son took over and then continued to collect facts around the world. So there is a website. They talk about all the metrics and statistics around the world. And it shows that despite all the noise on the media, humanity has been steadily improving. We are living longer. We are living healthier, more peaceful lives.
Yeah.
Globally, we are becoming more educated, more connected, more enlightened, mainly because of technology, which is totally, like, if you look at the data, it's totally the opposite from what's on the media. Then together with that, so I actually, based on facts, I know that we are heading the right direction.
Nice.
And
I love that. Yeah.
I
I love everything you're saying, because I believe AI is going to help us with governments around the world to be more honest, to be more efficient, and you described it as a world where AI helps us remember who we are, and that's great. And you also said you write about China leading a quiet revolution, not of power. Everyone out in this West here thinks, oh, they're trying to get global power, and you're saying a quiet revolution, not of power, but of consciousness. What would it really take for that to, do you think that's even possible for the world to embrace that type of thinking?
I don't know whether I think it is possible because China is a doer. Like, China is a doing country. China is not they don't have fanfare in terms of a lot of loud in fact, their marketing is really poor. That might be one of the reasons why there's such a negative image, because the Western narrative is quite strong.
Yeah.
But then the action that has been doing is, for example, they lift people out of poverty. They help all the Middle East country, the Silk and Road country in the middle, help them to build infrastructure. Help the whole Africa, a certain part of Africa, to build infrastructure.
Yeah.
And say, you pay me later. And all these are action. They actually deliver real things like hospitals, bridges, fast train in all those countries systematically. So I would say the answer is you just have faith, and I have faith that you just let nature do its work.
Yeah.
And is at the moment, the Western world just awakened to, all of a sudden, they thought all of a sudden China just become big. It wasn't. It was the past 50 years. Systematically, they are improving one layer at a time. They actually agile or accelerate at scale. They change at scale. And they already have the infrastructure to continue to change at scale. That's why I said I'm not worried about them adapting to AI, because if you compare 50 years ago when they were an agricultural country to in 50 years time, they become like the leading technology country in the world now, even going to the moon and building aeroplane and nearly own the whole complete supply chain, every single segment of the supply chain. So they have systematically laid the foundation. They just continuously doing things.
Right.
And head down. And the other thing is the Confucius culture itself means that a good ruler actually focus on people. And when they say focus on people, it's the well-being of the people. It wasn't about democracy or anything like that. It was about making sure that they live well and feel secure, have a happy life. They can all connect with each other, all the normal things that the basic need of humanity.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to the outcome oriented rather than process almost, right? And with these data centers going up everywhere, obviously our whole education system in the West is going to be looked at on how it's delivered and what we're training the youth and, the amount of energy and even soul thinking. So you imagine a future where children learn to read energy like the alphabet. I'm not quite sure what you meant by that. And maybe you could describe, and how do we begin to build that kind of education system in Western culture?
I think first is uplift the wisdom, so develop wisdom in the children. And the way to do that is by start with the family. Confucius saying is you master your oneself, then master the family, and then master the society, and then you unify the world. So those are the 4 stages. And for little kids, the education, we have this thing about the kid has to respect their parents, love their parents, respect their teachers. So we always learn wisdom from close relationships, your interaction with your closed ones, and it helps us to grow. In Western world, Western parenting sometimes mistake love with leniency or leniency with love.
Yes.
Chinese parents take it as their responsibility to develop children's characters.
Right.
So sometimes setting boundaries or giving them a bit of discipline is actually a good thing to help them, but make sure that they are self-aware as well, right?
Yeah, that's powerful. Do you see AI being part of that now? Like, is the family from China embracing technology to put some of those values into the youth? Are you seeing that actually being leveraged out there at all? Because out here, they're using their devices for TikTok and for Instagram, right? So I don't see the devices really being a learning tool for the youth out here, maybe being a learning challenge for them out here. So are you seeing what you're describing, the soul and are you seeing AI helping this culture of growing wise youth?
Again, the Chinese focus on the results, so they don't really care whether they are using AI or using other tools. Whenever they hear, and Chinese parents are very community sort of focused, they have lots of connections. So if they have channels to share tips and wisdoms and how do we interact with children, how do we develop characters. And yes, AI definitely will be could be one of the tools. However, one thing you need to know is US actually the ChatGPT, all these large language model is much more prevalent than inside China, mainly because the chips clamp down really have an impact. But then on the other hand, the conversation inside China doesn't actually talk about, they talk about AI, but they don't talk about AGI, ASI, or even agentic AI. They don't have these differentiation.
Okay.
They just say, what can it do for me?
Yeah. What's the outcome?
What's the outcome?
Yeah.
There is this thing that can really help the children to learn about themselves. Or at this stage is pass exam. But what I'm hearing is the wisdom learning part is still from the parents, because that's tradition. So there is actually a Chinese saying, a parent what is it? If a child has fault or has made mistake, it is the parent's fault, right? So there is a big responsibility for the parents to make sure they impart good wisdoms and good characters into the children.
Right.
Yeah.
And I maybe I'm wrong, but the tech is more enabling them to be more better at life, whereas I find some of the kids here are deteriorating because they're not out learn. I grew up, I started computers in elementary school. I was the only little kid in computer school. And, but if I came home and I was inside, my dad would say, "What are you doing inside?" And he'd put me outside. We were climbing trees. We were building forts. We were playing tag and street hockey. We're in Canada, right? And I'm seeing the kids now, especially living in apartments rather than houses. They're more just glued to their devices, and they're not learning what it means to like go build a tree fort or even go run around the neighborhood and play tag and stuff like that. So that segues. So I really appreciate your time, but what gives you hope right now in the world, because it's in turmoil? There's a lot of things going on, and do you see AI helping with that, or do you see it more of a different approach?
Yes, it gives me hope. One thing is because of the facts, because of factfulness, all the actual data that says we are on the trajectory. If we take a long-term view of everything, in fact, I've actually done a bit of experiment as well using AI, ChatGPT, was all the noise, say like one day Elon Musk is doing blah, and then the other day Trump is saying there is 100% tariff or something like that.
Yeah.
So I plug all those in and then say, tell me what happened in 3 years, tell me what happened in 50 years, and tell me what happened in 100 years if this happened. And then what I found is if we stretch the timeline to longer, it doesn't really matter. All these little, they are noises only. It actually doesn't impact the trajectory.
Wow.
If you look at what's happening in terms of the trend of the world, follow the population. So no matter whether you do, like for business leaders, no matter what the government policy is, go and look at where the population growth is. And that's where the future GDP and everything will be. And it's just necessity. It's just nature. It's nothing that any leader can do unless they put an atomic bomb onto it.
Yeah, that's great. You're using ChatGPT or whatever tool to help you predict and see the future. And so we should tell all CEOs out there, use your own data to predict your own future, to just get an idea, not necessarily right, but it'll give you an idea of things maybe that we wouldn't have even seen or thought of when it comes to politics or environment and all of the economy and recessions and stuff like that. And that's really interesting you said that, because I've been doing a little bit of that, but just starting. So if you could leave our listeners with one principle for building a future-ready organization. You know, you're living in Australia, which is Western. You're tied into China, it's Eastern. What would that look like? How would, telling our CEOs, what would they do to start building a future-ready organization right now if you were working with them?
Focus on building foundation, have a very clear, understand your own company's direction and build a culture of trust and empowerment so that you can enable the people to move at scale when things change, because things are definitely changing, and it is changing fast. And the only thing you can rely on is not processes, it's actually a group of really good people who are empowered, who you trust, that can actually help you to deliver that change. Yeah.
I love that. And I tell CEO, CFO, CIO, I tell them all, this isn't replacing that staff member's job. It's enabling them to be more strategic. And I go back to human. I see in the future us having CHOs, chief human officers, that will embed and push their leadership and their team members to be creative and think more capable by leveraging these tools. So everyone, I really appreciate the time. As I said, Susan Yu is a futurist, a friend, an author, systems thinker, and a global business analyst based out of Australia. I love the chance to always talk with you, and I really appreciate the time that you took out of your Saturday, because it's Friday here in Canada, and hopefully we get to all read your book when it comes out soon too, Susan. I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you very much, Chris and Chace. I'm honored. Thanks.
Thank you, Susan. We're honored. Chace, did you want to just end it off at all for us?
Yeah, that was really beautiful. I was just stuck listening to you guys talk about all that stuff, and it really left me like in a happy mood, actually.
Yeah.
In the moment. Yeah, that was amazing, actually. I really enjoyed that.
That's what you do, Susan. When I read yours, rather than the doom and gloom and the robots are coming, I get inspired and I do feel excited about the future. So thank you, and don't stop doing that for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.